I wanted to make a quick video about my latest project. My son-in-law is letting me use his big drill press, which is really nice. It needed some work. The electrical box was hanging off of it, and I figured out a way to get it attached. The screws were all stripped out. Put a little phone holder up there, and it still needs a little bit of work. I actually had to weld these arms on here because they were all stripped out, and I made this little depth gauge. What would you call that? Like a locking mechanism, I guess. I just took a bolt and cut it off and used an angle grinder to cut a notch in it, put a piece of stainless in it, drilled through it and drove a nail in there, and then flattened the nail off. We pounded on it with a ball peen against the little anvil I got made out of a railroad track. But up inside there's a little hole under here, and up inside there was just a socket for a bulb, and there was just a swirly fluorescent bulb hanging in there. And I had this light. As you call that, like a pod light. We always called them eyeball lights because you could move the light inside anywhere you wanted. And what I did was I took this part out. If you can see these two little holes here, those were rivets where the light pivoted back and forth. And it was interesting because there was a socket that the bulb screwed in. There was about 6 or 8 inches of wire, and there was a thing that you screw into a light socket. So I'm not sure exactly what the intended use of this was. I picked it up for $1 at the Goodwill. But what I did was I actually drilled 2 holes in this, and this is about a 1/4 inch cast. But then I stuck that light up under there. I put an LED bulb in it, and I stuck it up in there. So now I can direct it. You know, if I lower this, if I lower the table down, I can adjust the light so that it's not at such a steep angle. But works pretty slick. And the actual drill press table did not have any holes in it. So if I drilled through something, I'd be drilling into the table itself. So I made this little contraption, which I'll show you. All I did was I took a piece of wood and I drilled and countersunk a couple, I think those are 5/16 if I'm not mistaken. 5/16 T-nuts in there, and then found some bolts that would fit, put some washers on it, and when I put it on there, the head of the bolt and the washers slide under here, and I just screwed this nice big flat piece of wood on it. So make sure I slide it in there, and then I took my angle grinder and I cut slots in the end of the bolts so I could get a screwdriver on. And you got to turn those backwards so that it's like you're driving them in from the bottom. But anyway, that attaches it to the drill press table, and I got something that I can drill into without worrying about either damaging the cast table or, you know, something expensive like a Forstner bit. I don't want to break one of those rascals or dull it up on the metal. So, oh, one last thing. When my son-in-law let me borrow this drill press, it did not have a chuck key. So I found a chuck key at Orscheln's, or I'm sorry, at La Crosse Lumber. And the gears mesh perfectly. But the little pin that stuck out there was a little bit too small, so it rattled around in the hole. And I had a stainless steel antenna, and I cut a little section off, and I just put this on this anvil and drove that stainless steel chunk of antenna over it, and then ground it down. And I'm telling you what, got a nice snug fit there. And I just drilled a little hole to keep it right here next to it. So I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope it triggered some ideas for you, something that you could do in your own shop. And I also hope that you have a great day. This is Larry French at the Splinter Center, signing off.